Hello and welcome to another episode of Get Happy Podcast. Today I have the lovely Rebecca Stevens with me, who is also a certified facilitator in Access Consciousness. So Rebecca, thank you so much for being with us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Isn't she lovely? I wanted to call her Hot Pants. Oh, that's a private conversation. I didn't see her pants. She saw mine. Anyway, I digress. So this whole podcast, Rebecca, is about the happy lady, me, Rudrani Devi, sharing the love with those people out there that are trying to get their happy on. And when you told me your story, I thought you would be the perfect inspiration for the Get Happy podcast. So would you tell them a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then a little bit about your story?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Rebecca Stevens, and my business is an access business. I help people with access tools, so things like access bars, access facelift, and then facilitation tools. I love teaching and facilitating classes, and just helping people with their energy and sort of like shift their way of thinking, getting out of their story, even though I'm going to share my story, a little bit about my story today. And I don't really,
See how happy she is?
yeah,
She's already laughing about her story, which means you tell the story to help others, but you don't identify with the
yeah.
story.
And I did for a really long time. When I was 20, I had a little girl, and when she was 2.5, we found out, her dad and I found out that she had cancer. She had stage 4 Wilms tumor. And for 2.5 years, we fought that. I lived in a hospital with her for 2.5 years. And then when she was 5, she passed away. And so in all of that, and from that time on, that became my story. And I sort of lived this in this victim space, like with I see it now as just being like victim energy, and people could identify with that. Like I could manipulate people with that. I could change my situation with that. That
That's
became
what this reality teaches us too. When you go through trials and tribulations, no one wants to lose a child.
yeah.
It's more acceptable in this reality to lose an aging parent.
Yeah.
But a child, their life is just beginning, so I totally get it.
Yeah. And so I lived on a roller coaster ride. I tried to commit suicide 3 times. Everything just became about pain and suffering. So my life was based around pain and suffering, and I thought that that's what life should be about or was about. And then about 6 years ago, I started to ask questions. I wasn't involved with Access Consciousness at the time. I was in a difficult relationship with someone who um, was just an intense person to be with. It was just an intense relationship, and I was making myself wrong a lot and doing life really hard. And I started asking, man, there's got to be something's got to be different. This can't be what it is. Um, and so through a friend and some other situations, I get it now that it was because I was asking questions.
Right.
I was introduced to Dr. Dane Heer's book, Being You, Changing the World. And so I started reading that book, and then I met another woman who I didn't know. I just met her by happenstance. And she said, have you had your bars run? And I said, no, I didn't even know what that was at the time. Well, when I was introduced to that, and when she first asked me that question, I found out that there was going to be a bars class here in Holland, Michigan, where I live, and a foundation class the next day. So it was going to be like bars and foundation. And I said, I got it. Something in me said, you have to do this. And then it was like everything just fell into line so
Mhm.
that I could just do it all. And that was 3 years ago. And since then, I've just been sharing access consciousness and access tools and working I changed my whole business, my whole life to
Same.
basically be to to involve access and whatever that looks like. It always changes and it morphs, and I make it super fun for me. um so yeah, that's kind of my story.
It was like you plucked that from my brain. If we stay in that space of curiosity, questions
Mhm.
create.
Mhm.
When we decide, like when you were talking about how, you were suffering and you made that your story and you could manipulate people with your sadness and your gloom and your doom, which is, believe me, I'm not discounting it. That's a horrific thing to have happen in one's life. And I know about horrific things happening, but where is the question in that?
Exactly.
No, it's like
Exactly.
even Access 101, the first two things that I learned about getting out of the gloom and doom or the cranky pants or whatever you want to call it was, how does this get any better?
Yeah.
How does this get any better? Even when it's the worst day you think of your life, how does it get any better than this? And then the universe, oh, hears you and falls all over itself to show you what else is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that question too, like what else is possible?
Mhm. That
And
was it.
so then for me, like I really was asking too about how to change my life with money and my financial situation. And so I took some access classes with about money and read some money books with access. And I got to the question of like, well, if it's not really about money for me, what is it? And it's really that I ask for joy and happiness in my life.
Mm.
And so I started to ask the question, will this bring me joy? Will this bring me the happiness that I'm asking for, that I'm looking for, that I would like to have
Right.
infused in my life in every moment if I can? I mean, there's still stuff that comes in, and there's bumps and things that we can still like go, okay, whoa, what was that or whatever. Um, but yeah, so my life became about like infusing joy and happiness in moments wherever I
You
can.
actually chose it?
Yes, yeah.
You mean you can actually choose happiness?
Yeah.
Is that really possible?
Yes. Yes.
I know, a
Yeah.
plug. So sorry.
No, no.
She's a creator of Right Business Free. What is it that she calls it?
Joy of business.
Joy of Business. I'm sorry. Hello. We're using the word joy. Duh. So she says, it's money. I mean, joy follows money. Money does not follow joy. So get busy getting happy and the money will come. And it's just that same kind of energy. So when you
Yeah.
ask, will this bring me joy? What did you start noticing was showing up for you?
So, yeah, money does follow joy. And so as I started to ask for more joy to come into my life, then all money started to show up. And so I truly found with the access tools ways to shift my life where I thought for like the past 20 years of living in pain and suffering that choose happiness is a choice and we can choose it. And there are tools available for us to use to choose it. And like you said, how does it get any better than that?
That's
Um, and I
even
just,
when things are going great, people, you want
yes,
it to be even greater.
yeah,
You are valuable. Why wouldn't you want it to be even greater?
yeah. And that knowing too that there's not a wrongness of me or anyone, whatever you're choosing is just a choice. Like, and so the other thing that I don't choose to do is I don't go backwards and make myself wrong
Right.
for how I was choosing or how I did live my life. It's just,
Yeah.
I'm here where I'm at now, and now I get to create the future. What do I want that to look like? What do I want that to be like?
Gosh.
So,
How many people do you know that actually do that? They punish themselves for their past. You know, blame, shame, regret, guilt.
yeah,
And then they get stuck and they can't see beyond that, that they can actually choose something different. They can actually choose joy and
exactly.
happiness.
Exactly.
So what's another one of your tools that got you to being so joyful?
Well, access bars is definitely one of them. And I really encourage all of you, everyone, anyone listening to this, watching this, find a bars practitioner, a bars facilitator near you in your area. We're all over the world, and get your bars run for sure.
Go to, accessconsciousness.com and click into wherever it is you live, and I guarantee you will find somebody nearby. We're in 179 countries now.
Yeah, definitely. So that's definitely one of the other tools that I use. Asking questions, knowing also that my choice creates my reality.
Mhm.
And for some reason, I did not know that. I did not get that until Access. I did not get that my choice creates my reality.
Mhm.
And now that I truly know that and embody that, like it's just infused in me now. It's not a question of how that works anymore.
Right.
Um, I see it though in other people that they do not get that. They do not understand that really you do have a choice, and your choice does create your reality, every choice that you make.
Absolutely. And
So
your point of view as well, because your point of view will create your reality. Your reality does not create your point of view. You may think it does. Oh, I grew up in a really, harsh family situation or whatever, and I just can't get out of it. So if your point of view is I can't get out of it, that's what you're going to create, because that's your choice. You're choosing not to get out of it. I mean, I
yeah,
went through a situation of extreme abuse, and my choice was to run away from home. So sorry, Mom. Um, and that created, because I got dragged back home.
hmm,
That created other choices because I was taken seriously and worked with guidance counselors and was able to take some AP courses and get out sooner. So,
yeah,
but you've got to take an action, you make a choice, take an action, and you can amazingly create your life and your living beyond what you could have ever imagined.
yeah, definitely. And I'm still working on interesting point of view. I have this point of view.
You know what? COVID really pointed that one out to me, because I kind of thought I had it all together. And it's been a gift in a way. I mean, while this recording is going out, some of you may know or remember, if this is in the past, this thing called the coronavirus. Um,
Yeah,
Needless to say, I thought that all my points of view were right. And then I realized I still have a lot of interesting points of
yeah,
view, and as I was saying earlier, your point of view creates your reality. What if your point of view didn't have to be right or wrong or good or bad? It was just a point of view, and everyone else's point of view is just their point of view. And as I watched what was going on with this whole thing with coronavirus and how diabolically different people's points of views were, but they weren't
Mm,
changing anything. And so I did that tool on myself a lot. Like, interesting point of view, I have that point of view about their point of view.
yeah,
And you do this enough and it unwinds it, and you realize, hey, you know what? I don't have to align and agree or resist and react with anyone. I can say
anything.
it
Yeah,
doesn't work for me, you know?
yeah,
So,
that's
hmm,
awesome.
interesting. Hmm, hmm. Any
Very,
other tools you want to share? What's your favorite tool? I know bars. I think that's all of our favorites. 'Cause
yeah. Um, for me, it's asking questions, and I sit in the morning with a cup of tea, and I have a little journal, and I just ask questions like, what's going to create my day? Right now, I'm asking a question about what more can I choose, and this isn't really a question, but it's like, if I weren't choosing this,
Mhm.
then what could I choose?
Right. I
What
love
else? It's sort of going more into what else is possible. Um, do what I'm finding for myself is like, with all the points of view that I do have and that I'm now becoming more and more aware of, and what we become aware of, we can then change
right.
because we're aware of it. So I then have been just asking questions like, wow, okay, if I didn't have the point of view about where I live or what I do for a living or all of these things that we think we're supposed to do or that we have to have, or like about me as a mom, because now I do have a son, he's 14. But if I didn't have all these points of view about all these things in my life, what can I choose? Like, what else is truly
I
possible?
love that. And who would I be?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
I like
exactly.
to say, I like to say, well, I'm an infinite being pretending to be Rudrani Devi, evidently.
Yeah, yeah, you're just choosing that, or that's just
This is the
that right
Rudrani
now.
Devi suit. You know?
Yeah.
So for now, this is what's working for me. But you know what I love? And I would love to challenge you guys listening now or in the future. Um, how cool would it be if you actually had a journal like Rebecca's journal? You called it something, you know, you journal questions.
Yes, I
And
journal
so,
questions in the morning. And
so
then you know what? I go back to, like, I go back occasionally and I look at what I had been asking, like, because sometimes I just repeat the same questions, like day after day, it's the same questions.
hmm,
Um, and I'll go and I'll get to acknowledge then me and how much I have chosen,
right.
and what else has changed. So it's like, I was asking those questions, and then what did I become aware of? What did I choose, and what did I become aware of? And how much acknowledge, like, what can I acknowledge in myself then?
Right. Gosh, acknowledging is a big one. It's
Yeah.
a big one. A lot
Yes.
of times we don't acknowledge in ourselves what we've created in our lives. And I know
Yeah.
Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, says, you know, if you acknowledge what you're creating, you know, and don't brush it off. Like even if somebody compliments you for, oh, you've done so much with your life. Oh no, if you can acknowledge that, you know, even if it's just, hey, thanks, man. You know, the universe, again, the quantum entanglements and the elementals, the universe go, ah, more of that, you know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just so cool how much the universe really wants to support us. And we're so afraid to ask for what reason.
Well, that's just it. That's why I started to write down questions, because I don't ask, and I didn't know I could ask, and I didn't know, it's almost like I didn't know how to ask for what I wanted.
Have you ever heard Dr. Dane here, who's a co-founder of Access Consciousness, when he says, you know, that thing where it says, ask and you shall receive, it's so just, you have to really dig through the Bible to find it, but it's actually in there. And what if that was actually true and real for us? You
Yeah.
know? And yet we're so afraid to ask. And for what reason? I don't know. I mean, I was in the same boat, love. I did the same things where I didn't know I could. I mean, I was always very curious, but I
Hmm.
never knew that I could actually ask for things. You know, like I ask every morning, as do a lot of people in Access Consciousness, you know, who or what am I today?
Yeah.
And what glorious and grand adventure am I going to get into? And it just sets up your day in this way,
Yeah.
you know? And I do that, and then I get this awareness, you know, or hey, you know, universe, where should I put my attention today? And something pops into my head. It literally has become so easy to navigate my life by following the energy, because you just ask the question and it's do, 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 you know, because you ask a question and it creates choices, which creates
Yeah.
possibilities. And then
Yeah.
there's the actualization piece. You know, it could be a throwaway line. I've done things before. I remember walking on the beach with some girlfriends, and this was after everything that had happened to me in India. I'd run the Boston Marathon, which is something I didn't think I was going to be able to do due to my injuries. And then we're just strolling on the beach, and one of them just said, so if there was one thing you could do again, is there anything you miss that you'd love to do again? I said, yeah, I would love to be performing and singing again. And then I didn't think anything of it. And then I'm going to use the word literally, because it was literally within a month I was on stage singing in a band my friend had put together.
That's so
That
awesome.
time now, I've been in several bands, and I have my own band, and I have several songs that could be put in an album. And now I'm Reverb Nation's #1 funk artist in Nashville.
Oh, cool.
So it's like, you just never know. If you don't choke to death your question, I've noticed, those are the ones that seem to actualize the quickest, when you just throw it to the universe and let the universe handle it, instead of, it's like telling God how you want things to show up in your life, because it never shows up the way you think it's going to,
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Let go of the control.
What would it take to be out of control, out of linearity, out of controversies?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and two, like, if your mind could have figured it out, we would have already.
True
Like,
story.
yeah, yeah. So
So this has been a wonderful conversation.
thank you so much for having me.
Is there anything else that you would like to leave our listeners, viewers with today?
I would like to just, again, if you're watching this and if you're guided to start a little questions journal, or even just take notes in your phone. It's just fun to see, if you could ask for anything, what would you ask for?
Oh, I love that question. So I love that. I'm going to do that too, actually. Thank you so much. And where can people find you? They're looking for you out in the world.
I'm on Facebook, and I'm also at RebeccaStevensCF.com.
Perfect. All right, you guys. And I'll make sure to put those links here where you can find them. Thank you again. It's been a joy. It's so joyful.
Yay, so much
playing
fun.
with you.
Yeah.
So thanks, guys, for watching. And until next time, ciao for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.